Chapter 26, the final test. The next few days in Paris felt like a dream Marcus never wanted to wake up from, for once. No business meetings, no boardrooms, no war, just peace and Aaliyah. The newlyweds spent their mornings walking through the beautiful Paris streets hand in hand while photographers quietly followed from a distance. Luxury cafes, historic architecture, street musicians, everything felt magical. One afternoon, Marcus and Aaliyah visited the world-famous Louvre Museum. The massive museum amazed them instantly. Ancient artwork lined endless halls, golden ceilings stretched above them. Aaliyah slowly turned in circles, taking everything in. "This place huge," Marcus laughed softly. "You sound surprised." "Because I am." Eventually they reached the most crowded room inside the museum. People everywhere held cameras up excitedly. Then Marcus and Aaliyah finally saw it. The Mona Lisa. Aaliyah stared quietly for a moment. "That little painting got all these people here?" Marcus laughed loudly. "I was thinking the same thing." Aaliyah leaned closer jokingly. "She kind of looked like she know everybody business." Marcus nearly choked laughing. "Aaliyah, stop." The couple spent hours exploring museums, shopping districts, and beautiful gardens across Paris. At night, they enjoyed rooftop dinners overlooking the Eiffel Tower. In the mornings, they slept in each other's arms. For a while, life finally felt normal. But good moments never lasted long in the Hale family. Late one evening, while Marcus and Aaliyah packed their luggage preparing to leave Paris, Marcus's phone rang. Richard Hale. Marcus answered immediately. "What's up, Grandad?" Richard's calm voice came through the phone. "I switched your flight." Marcus frowned slightly. "What?" "You're no longer flying back to Los Angeles." Marcus stopped packing. "Then where we going?" "Back to Somerville." Marcus looked confused. "Why?" A pause came through the phone. "Because there's someone I want you to meet." Then the line disconnected. Marcus slowly lowered the phone. Aaliyah blinked curiously. "What was that about?" Marcus shrugged slightly. "With my family?" He smirked. "Could literally be anything." Hours later, the Hale International jet landed back in Somerville. Luxury black vehicles waited beside the runway. Security lined the entrance. The second Marcus and Aaliyah entered the Hale mansion, the energy felt different, more formal, almost tense. Then suddenly, a woman stepped down the grand staircase slowly. Elegant white suit, diamond jewelry, sharp eyes, cold presence. Even Richard straightened slightly, seeing her. Marcus instantly knew who she was. Richard Hale's wife, his grandmother, Victoria Hale. The woman looked Marcus up and down carefully before finally speaking. "So," her voice calm but powerful, "this is the grandson everybody keeps talking about." Marcus nodded respectfully. "Yes, ma'am." Victoria stepped closer. Beautiful, sophisticated, dangerous. She gently touched Marcus's face before smirking slightly. "You look just like your father." Marcus stayed quiet. Then Victoria suddenly looked toward Aaliyah. "And this must be the young lady who stole his heart." Aaliyah smiled politely. "Yes, ma'am." Victoria slowly nodded approvingly. "Beautiful." Then calmly added, "Good." Because despite her elegance, everybody in the room knew one thing about Victoria Hale. She was ruthless, even more ruthless than Richard. Lacey once whispered she could destroy businesses with a single phone call. And honestly, Marcus believed it immediately. Later that evening, the entire Hale family gathered for dinner. Richard, Victoria, William, Roman, Stacy, Lacey, Evelyn, Denise, Alfred, Vanessa, everybody sat around the massive dining table. Then suddenly, Aaliyah smiled nervously before looking toward everyone. "We actually got something to tell you all." The room instantly quieted. Marcus smiled softly beside her. Aaliyah slowly placed a hand against her stomach. "I'm pregnant." For half a second. Silence. Then the entire room exploded. Denise instantly burst into tears again. "My baby having a baby!" Lacey screamed excitedly. Stacy grabbed Aaliyah, hugging her tightly. William smiled proudly. Even Victoria Hale slightly smiled. Richard slowly leaned back proudly. "A Hale heir." Marcus laughed softly. "You're acting like we announced royalty." Victoria calmly looked at him. "You did." Later that night, Alfred approached Marcus quietly. "Mr. Richard would like to see you in his office." Marcus nodded immediately before heading downstairs. The second he entered, Richard sat alone behind the giant desk staring out the windows. The atmosphere instantly felt serious. Marcus frowned slightly. "What's wrong?" Richard slowly turned toward him. "Do you have your black card on you?" Marcus blinked confused. "Yeah." He reached into his wallet, pulling out the famous black card. Richard held his hand out calmly. "Give it to me." Marcus hesitated briefly, but handed it over. Richard placed the card inside the desk drawer. "Good." Marcus crossed his arms slightly. "Okay." Richard leaned back calmly. "Aaliyah will stay here." Marcus frowned instantly. "What?" "Your mother, Alfred, and the family will look after her." Marcus's expression hardened. "What are you talking about?" Richard slowly stood up. "You're going to Miami." Marcus blinked. "What?" "Alone." Another pause. "No money." Marcus stared at him like he lost his mind. "You serious?" Richard nodded once. "No cars. No black card. No Hale name." Marcus laughed in disbelief. "Grandad, I already proved myself." Richard's eyes hardened immediately. "Not yet." Silence filled the office. Marcus shook his head. "You got billions." Another point. "I rebuilt businesses." Another. "I survived everything." Richard calmly stepped closer. "And now I need to know who you are without all of it." Marcus stayed quiet. Richard's voice lowered slightly. "I'm stepping down soon." Marcus blinked slowly, hearing that. "But before I crown you king of this empire," Richard pointed toward him firmly, "I need to know if you can build something from absolutely nothing." Marcus's jaw tightened. Richard continued calmly, "I don't care what kind of business it is." Another pause. "Go to Miami. Start with nothing. And build your way back up." Marcus looked frustrated now. "This crazy." Richard smirked slightly. "So was becoming a billionaire." The room became quiet. Then finally, Marcus sighed heavily. "When do I leave?" Richard answered instantly. "Tomorrow morning." Later that night, Marcus returned upstairs quietly. Aaliyah instantly noticed something was wrong. "What happened?" Marcus sat beside her slowly, then explained everything. Miami, no money, no black card, no Hale name, no help. Aaliyah listened quietly the entire time. Then finally, she grabbed his hand softly. "You can do it." Marcus looked exhausted. "You pregnant?" Another pause. "And now I gotta leave you." Aaliyah smiled softly. "You not leaving me." She placed his hand gently against her stomach again. "You building our future." Marcus looked down quietly, then finally nodded. That night, they shared one final dinner together beneath the lights of the Hale mansion. No business talk, no pressure, just love, just family. And later that night, Marcus held Aaliyah tighter than ever before while both silently knowing everything was about to change again. Chapter 27. Built from Nothing. The first 2 weeks in Miami were brutal. No Hale name, no black card, no luxury cars, no private jets, just Marcus and reality. At first, he had nowhere to sleep. The first few nights he slept outside near the beach wrapped in a hoodie while watching expensive cars drive past him. The irony almost made him laugh. A billionaire, sleeping outside. But Richard's voice kept replaying in his head. If you can build something from nothing, then you truly deserve everything. So Marcus kept pushing. He hustled odd jobs for cash, loaded trucks, cleaned gyms, ran errands. Eventually he saved enough money for a cheap motel room. Then one night while working out at a local basketball gym, everything started changing. Marcus joined a random pickup game. At first, nobody paid attention to him, until he started playing. Then suddenly, everybody stopped. Marcus crossed one defender so badly the man literally fell backwards. The entire gym screamed. Then Marcus exploded toward the rim. Boom! A vicious dunk over another player. The whole gym erupted. "Who is this dude?" Marcus smirked quietly while jogging back down the court. For the first time in months, basketball felt fun again. After the game, one of the local players approached him. "You ever thought about joining a league?" Marcus grabbed water, catching his breath. "What kind of league?" The guy shrugged. "Nothing major." Another pause. "But the pay decent." Marcus listened carefully. "You hoop against local teams." Another shrug. "Enough money to get your own place and car." Marcus thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. "I'm in." Over the next few weeks, Marcus completely dominated the local Miami basketball league. Point guard, shooting guard. Didn't matter. He cooked everybody. Word started spreading fast around Miami. Then one night, everything exploded. The gym was packed wall to wall. Marcus caught the ball at half court. One defender stepped up confidently. Marcus crossed him over instantly. The defender crashed to the floor. The crowd lost it. Then another defender tried stepping in front of Marcus. Bad decision. Marcus rose through the air and dunked violently over him. The entire gym erupted screaming. Phones recorded everywhere. People stood on chairs, losing their minds. That man different. Soon local teams offered Marcus money constantly. Sponsors started reaching out, and finally, a huge opportunity arrived. A Gatorade representative approached him after a game. "We want to work with you." Marcus blinked slightly. "For real?" The rep smiled. "You're becoming a big deal in Miami." The endorsement deal paid Marcus $100,000 up front plus royalties. The old Marcus probably would have blown the money on cars and jewelry. But this Marcus? He invested. Immediately. Marcus bought a small gym. Nothing huge, nothing flashy, but it was clean, modern, beautiful, and profitable. Then he invested in another business, a small burger restaurant called Burger World. Their slogan, "The best burgers in the world." At first, business moved slowly. Some weeks were good, some weeks terrible, but Marcus stayed patient. Meanwhile, the Gatorade royalties kept coming in steadily. Between basketball checks, business profits, and endorsements, Marcus slowly started rebuilding again, and honestly, it surprised him how quickly he adapted without the Hale money. 3 months later, Marcus finally moved into a decent apartment and bought himself a simple Toyota Camry. Nothing flashy, but he loved it, because he earned it himself. One evening, Marcus sat inside his gym office, reviewing numbers, when his assistant knocked softly. "Come in." The office door opened, and Gabrielle walked in. Marcus blinked slightly. Gabrielle was stunning. Long dark hair, sharp eyes, confident walk. She wore a fitted black Dolce & Gabbana dress with red-bottom heels and elegant jewelry, and she definitely knew she looked good. "You wanted to see me?" Marcus cleared his throat slightly. "Yeah." Gabrielle smirked softly while sitting down, crossing her legs slowly. Even from the beginning, she flirted with Marcus constantly, but Marcus never crossed the line, because no matter how beautiful Gabrielle was, his heart belonged to Aaliyah. Still, Gabrielle became important to his growth. Very important. She taught Marcus how to truly build wealth: stocks, portfolios, investments, business management, risk analysis, expansion. She pushed Marcus hard. At one point, she practically forced him into investing in a struggling yacht company. "You either trust me," she slid the paperwork toward him confidently, "or you stay small forever." Marcus stared at the papers for a long moment, then signed them. And somehow, Gabrielle was right again. 6 months passed, and Marcus slowly built a whole new empire in Miami from absolutely nothing. The gym flourished. Burger World struggled sometimes but survived. The yacht company unexpectedly exploded into profit. His Gatorade royalties continued paying huge money, and his basketball popularity kept growing. But through all the success, the hardest part remained being away from Aaliyah. Every night they talked on the phone. Aaliyah constantly updated him on the baby. Doctor appointments, baby kicks, names. Marcus smiled every single time hearing her voice. One night, Aaliyah softly laughed over the phone. He kicked again. Marcus smiled, laying back inside his apartment. He already playing basketball. Aaliyah laughed harder. "Probably." Then softly, "He misses you." Marcus went quiet hearing that. "Tell him Daddy coming soon." The next morning, Marcus sat inside his gym office reviewing reports when his phone suddenly rang. Richard Hale. Marcus answered immediately. "Granddad." Richard's calm voice came through the phone. "You've done a great job." Marcus slowly leaned back in his chair. "You really think so?" Richard chuckled quietly. "You built businesses." Another pause. "Created income." Another. "And survived without the Hale name." Marcus smiled faintly hearing that. Then Richard finally spoke the words Marcus had waited months to hear. "It's time to come home." Marcus looked around his office quietly, thinking about everything Miami taught him: pain, growth, discipline, hustle. Then finally Marcus smiled. "Yeah." A soft exhale escaped him. "I'm ready." Chapter 28. Crowned. The first thing Marcus did after hanging up with Richard was call Aaliyah. The phone rang twice before she answered excitedly. "Marcus?" Marcus smiled immediately hearing her voice. "Pack your bags." Aaliyah blinked. "What?" Marcus leaned back in his chair, smiling. "Before I come home." A slight smirk crossed his face. "I'm flying my wife out to Miami." Aaliyah squealed loudly. "Really?" Marcus laughed. "Yes, really." Then softly, "I miss you." Aaliyah's voice instantly softened. "I miss you too." The next afternoon, Marcus stood waiting outside the private airport in Miami while warm wind blew through the palm trees. The second the jet doors opened, Marcus completely froze. Alea slowly stepped out wearing a beautiful cream-colored dress while holding her stomach softly, and she looked even more beautiful than he remembered. Marcus walked toward her immediately. Alea dropped her bags instantly before running into his arms. They hugged tightly, like neither wanted to let go. Marcus kissed her deeply while smiling against her lips. "You have no idea how much I missed you." Alea smiled emotionally. "You gone so long." Then she grabbed his hand, gently placing it against her stomach. Marcus instantly smiled bigger. Their baby bump had grown. "Oh, wow." Alea laughed softly at his reaction. Surprise. Marcus kissed her forehead emotionally. "That's my son in there." Alea smiled warmly. "Our son." Over the next few days, Marcus showed Alea everything he built in Miami from absolutely nothing. He took her to the beach first. Warm waves crashed softly while palm trees swayed in the distance. Marcus smiled, looking around. "Crazy thing is," he pointed quietly toward a nearby area, "when I first got here." Alea listened carefully. "That's where I used to sleep." Alea looked at him emotionally. "You serious?" Marcus nodded softly. "Yeah." Alea grabbed his hand tighter immediately, and in that moment, she realized just how hard he fought to build this life. Later, Marcus proudly showed her Burger World. Employees greeted Marcus excitedly the second he entered. "The boss here!" Alea laughed softly, watching Marcus interact with everybody. Then Marcus took her to see the gym. The place was packed, music blasting, people training, athletes everywhere. Alea smiled proudly. "You really built all this yourself?" Marcus wrapped an arm around her waist. "Yeah." Then softly, but honestly, he looked down at her lovingly. "I kept hearing your voice in my head the whole time." Alea smiled emotionally. "You so sweet sometimes." Marcus smirked. "Only for you." The next day, Marcus took Alea out on one of the luxury yachts from his yacht company. The ride across the Miami water looked beautiful. Blue skies, ocean breeze, luxury homes lining the shore. Alea leaned against Marcus happily while dolphins jumped through the water nearby. "Oh my God, look!" Marcus laughed, watching her excitement. Seagulls flew overhead while ducks floated peacefully nearby. For a little while, everything felt perfect again. But perfection never lasted long around Marcus Hale. Later that afternoon, Marcus brought Alea to meet Gabrielle. The second Gabrielle walked into the office. The tension became immediate. Gabrielle looked stunning as always. Elegant fitted outfit, luxury heels, perfect makeup, confident energy. But the second she saw Alea, her expression shifted slightly, because Alea looked breathtaking, pregnant glow, natural beauty, elegant confidence. And Gabrielle immediately viewed her as competition. Meanwhile, Alea politely smiled, but definitely noticed how Gabrielle looked at Marcus. "Oh," Gabrielle crossed her arms slightly. "So this, the famous wife." Alea smiled sweetly. "And you must be the assistant." Marcus instantly noticed the tension. Gabrielle smirked slightly. "I helped Marcus build everything in Miami." Alea nodded calmly. "And I helped Marcus before he had anything." Marcus closed his eyes briefly. "Here we go." Gabrielle smiled tighter. "Well, clearly he upgraded." Alea's eyebrow raised instantly. Marcus stepped between both women immediately. "Okay," he pointed dramatically. "We not doing this." Both women looked at him. Marcus grabbed Alea's hand gently. "This my wife." Then looked toward Gabrielle seriously. "She carrying my child." Then calmly, "No one taking her place." Alea softened instantly hearing that. Marcus looked toward Gabrielle. "And Gabrielle?" Another pause. "She helped me build Miami." Marcus nodded respectfully toward her. "She taught me business, stocks, expansion, and honestly, he looked around proudly. She one of the main reasons I conquered this city." Gabrielle slowly relaxed hearing that. Alea also softened slightly, though both women still quietly sized each other up. Definitely not friends yet. That evening, Marcus and Alea walked barefoot along the beach beneath the warm night breeze. The ocean waves crashed softly nearby, while city lights reflected across the water. Marcus held Alea close, while both walked slowly. "Could you believe?" Marcus pointed again toward the distant beachfront. "That's where I slept when I first got here." Alea looked emotional instantly. "You really built all this from nothing?" Marcus nodded quietly. "Yeah." Then softly, "But having you back?" He smiled, looking at her. "This the richest I felt the whole time." Alea kissed him softly beneath the moonlight. "I'm proud of you." Marcus smiled quietly, hearing those words. "Because honestly, That meant more than all the money. Before leaving Miami, Marcus hired professional CEOs and managers to oversee all his businesses: Burger World, the gym, the yacht company, everything. Then he had one final meeting with Gabrielle inside the office. Marcus leaned back in his chair. "When we get back to Somerville," he looked toward her seriously, "you'll meet Brooke." Gabrielle blinked slightly. "The assistant?" Marcus smirked. "She more than an assistant." Then calmly, "I want both of you working together." Gabrielle's eyes widened slightly. "With Hale Industries?" Marcus nodded once. Gabrielle smiled immediately. Excited, proud, ready for bigger things. "You serious?" Marcus smirked. "Very." Gabrielle stood up, smiling brightly. "Well," she grabbed her purse confidently, "looks like Miami was only the beginning." The next morning, Marcus and Alia boarded the Hale International jet back towards Somerville. The second they arrived at the Hale mansion, Richard immediately called Marcus into his office, but this time, Victoria Hale sat beside him quietly. Marcus instantly noticed both looked serious. "What's wrong?" Richard slowly stood up. "Nothing's wrong." Victoria smirked slightly. "In fact," another pause, "you passed." Marcus frowned. "Passed what?" Richard smiled proudly. "The test." Marcus blinked slowly. Victoria crossed her legs calmly. "It was my idea." Marcus looked toward her, surprised. Victoria's eyes sharpened slightly. "If Richard isn't here one day." A pause. "We needed to know you were strong enough to lead this empire without money." Richard nodded proudly. "And you did exactly that." Marcus stayed quiet, processing everything. Then Richard slowly opened a black velvet box on the desk. Inside, a brand new black card, different from the last one. Cleaner. More powerful. Marcus stared at it quietly. Richard slid it toward him. The real black card. Marcus slowly picked it up. "No spending limit." Victoria smirked slightly. "Use it wisely." Marcus looked down at the card silently. Everything he went through in Miami suddenly made sense. The struggle, the pain, the grind. Richard slowly stepped closer. "Next week," a proud smile crossed his face, "I officially stepped down." Marcus slowly looked up. "And crown you CEO of the Hale Empire." Chapter 29. Bloodlines. After returning to Somerville, Marcus and Aaliyah moved back into their luxury penthouse overlooking the city skyline. Richard and Victoria insisted on it. "We want you close until the baby arrives," Victoria calmly explained. And honestly, Marcus didn't argue, especially after everything that happened. Meanwhile, William Hale returned to Los Angeles alongside Roman, Stacy, and Lacey to fully take control of the West Coast division. The Hale Empire was expanding faster than ever, and now Marcus officially stood next in line to rule it all. Back at Hale Industries headquarters, Marcus finally introduced Vanessa Brooks and Gabrielle properly. At first, Marcus expected tension, competition, attitude. Instead, the exact opposite happened. The second Gabrielle and Vanessa started talking, they instantly clicked. Both were sharp, beautiful, business-minded, and extremely intelligent. Within an hour, they were already brainstorming ideas together while reviewing reports and laughing. Marcus shook his head slightly, watching them. "This dangerous." Vanessa smirked. "Relax." Gabrielle laughed softly. "We're not trying to kill each other anymore." Aaliyah rolled her eyes nearby. "Yet." Everybody laughed. Soon the two women became unstoppable together. Vanessa handled empire structure and corporate management. Gabrielle specialized in investment, stock growth, and expansion. And together, they made Hale Industries even stronger. The night before Marcus officially took over Hale Global Empire, Richard called for a private family meeting at the mansion. "Tomorrow changes everything," Richard told him over the phone. "We need to go over final details." Marcus agreed immediately. That evening, Marcus climbed inside his orange Lamborghini Huracan and drove through the glowing streets of Somerville toward the Hale mansion. Music played softly through the speakers, while Marcus thought quietly. Tomorrow, he would officially become CEO of one of the most powerful empires in the world. Everything he suffered through, everything he survived, had led to this moment. Marcus stopped at a green light near downtown before slowly accelerating forward again. Then suddenly, boom! A massive truck flew through the intersection out of nowhere, straight toward Marcus. The impact sounded like an explosion. The Lamborghini folded almost completely in half. Metal crushed instantly, glass shattered everywhere. The car flipped violently several times before crashing upside down near the side of the road. People nearby screamed. Cars slammed on brakes. Smoke poured from the destroyed Lamborghini. Bystanders rushed toward the wreckage, terrified. "Oh my God! Call 911! Is he dead?" Inside the wreckage, Marcus barely moved. Blood covered his face, his breathing weak. Pain shot through his entire body. Somehow, Marcus slowly crawled from the destroyed Lamborghini onto the pavement. Broken glass dug into his hands while blood dripped across the street. The crowd looked horrified. Nobody understood how he was still alive. Then suddenly, a man stepped out from the shadows, standing over Marcus. Marcus's vision blurred badly, but he heard every word clearly. The man crouched beside him slowly. Cold voice. Dangerous voice. "I paralyzed your uncle." Marcus weakly looked upward. "I killed your father." Marcus's eyes widened slightly. Then the man leaned closer. "And now," he slowly raised a gun. "It's your turn." Bam! The gun smashed across Marcus's head violently. Everything went black instantly. Then police sirens, ambulances, fire trucks. The mysterious man quickly disappeared into the darkness before authorities arrived, and Marcus Hale stopped moving completely. 2 days later, soft beeping machines echoed quietly inside a hospital room. Marcus slowly opened his eyes. Everything blurry. His entire body felt heavy, pain everywhere. He tried moving slightly before realizing tubes connected to him, bandages wrapped across his chest and head. Then suddenly, "Marcus?" Aaliyah's voice. Marcus slowly turned his head. Aaliyah sat beside him, crying instantly, the second she realized he woke up. Denise stood nearby, emotional, and Victoria Hale stood silently near the windows. Marcus blinked slowly. "What?" His throat felt dry. "Happened?" Aaliyah grabbed his hand, immediately crying harder. "You've been unconscious for 2 days." Marcus slowly remembered flashes. The truck, the crash, the man. Then his eyes widened slightly. "The guy?" Victoria instantly stepped forward. "What guy?" Marcus stared toward the ceiling, breathing slowly. "He said," another painful breath, "he killed my father." The entire room went completely silent. Victoria's expression instantly changed. Cold, deadly. Aaliyah looked terrified. Marcus slowly looked toward his grandmother. "He also said..." Marcus's jaw tightened painfully. "He paralyzed Uncle William." Victoria slowly turned toward the window quietly, then softly whispered, so the ghost finally stepped back into the light. Marcus frowned weakly. "What does that mean?" Victoria looked back at him, and for the first time since meeting her, Marcus saw fear in her eyes. Real fear. Because whoever attacked Marcus wasn't just an enemy. They were someone the Hale family had feared for years. Chapter 30. The ghost rain poured heavily outside the hospital windows, while the Hale family filled the private hospital floor with security. Armed guards stood at every entrance. Black SUVs lined the streets outside. Nobody was taking chances anymore. Not after what happened to Marcus. Inside the hospital room, Marcus slowly sat up despite the pain shooting through his ribs. Aaliyah instantly moved closer. "You shouldn't be moving yet." Marcus winced slightly. "I'm fine." Victoria Hale immediately shut that down. "No, you are not." Her sharp voice filled the room. "You survived a direct assassination attempt." Marcus looked toward her seriously. "Who was that man?" The room became quiet again. Even Richard looked tense now. Finally, William's voice came through the room from the doorway. "His name is Vincent Kane." Everybody turned. William slowly rolled into the room beside Roman. The second Marcus saw his uncle, he noticed something different. William looked angry. Not business angry, personal angry. Roman closed the door behind them while speaking quietly. "My father knew this day would come." Marcus frowned. "You knew he was alive?" William slowly nodded once, unfortunately. Marcus stared at his uncle, waiting for answers. William finally sighed heavily. "Years ago." Another pause. "Before your father died." William's expression darkened. "Vincent Kane worked with Lewis Treasury." Marcus instantly focused harder. "What did he do?" William laughed bitterly. "What didn't he do?" Another pause. "Money laundering, illegal weapons, executions, extortion, anything dirty." William's eyes hardened. "Vincent handled it." Aaliyah looked disturbed instantly. "And nobody stopped him?" Victoria finally spoke coldly. "We tried." Everybody looked toward her. Victoria slowly walked closer. "Vincent Kane wasn't just dangerous." Another pause. "He was brilliant." Marcus listened carefully. Richard's jaw tightened. "He nearly destroyed the Hale Empire years ago." William nodded. "He targeted our businesses, our people, our money." Then William looked down briefly toward his wheelchair, and eventually his voice lowered slightly. "My car." Marcus immediately understood. He caused your accident. William nodded once. Brake lines were cut. Aaliyah covered her mouth softly. Marcus clenched his jaw. And my father? Silence, heavy silence. Then Richard finally answered quietly. Your father found proof linking Vincent Kane to Lewis Treasury. Marcus's breathing slowed. And before he could expose him, Victoria's eyes darkened. Your father was murdered. The room became completely silent. Everything Marcus thought he knew changed instantly. His father didn't die in an accident. He was killed. Later that night, Marcus sat alone staring out the hospital windows quietly. The city lights blurred through the rain. His mind replayed everything repeatedly. Your father was murdered. The words hit harder than the crash itself. Then quietly, Aaliyah walked into the room carrying food. Marcus didn't move. Aaliyah sat beside him softly. You got to eat. Marcus shook his head slightly. I almost died. Aaliyah's eyes instantly watered. Don't say it like that. Marcus finally looked toward her. That man could have killed me. Aaliyah grabbed his hand immediately, but he didn't. Marcus stayed quiet. Aaliyah gently touched his face. You know what I think? Marcus sighed softly. What? I think God kept you here for a reason. Marcus looked down quietly. Aaliyah smiled through tears. You survived being broke. You survived losing basketball. You survived rebuilding your life. Another pause. And you survived this. Marcus finally smiled faintly. You always know what to say. Aaliyah leaned forward, kissing him softly. That's why I'm your wife. Marcus laughed quietly for the first time all day. Meanwhile, miles away inside a dark luxury penthouse overlooking another city, Vincent Kane calmly watched the news covering Marcus's accident. Older now, grey beard, scar across his face, cold eyes. The television showed footage of Marcus being rushed into the ambulance. Vincent smirked slowly while sipping whiskey. Tough little bastard. Another man stood nearby nervously. Sir, he hesitated slightly. The Hale family increased security everywhere. Vincent laughed softly. They should. Then his expression darkened. Because this time, he slowly stood looking out across the city skyline. I'm not stopping until every Hale is buried. The room fell silent. Then Vincent quietly smiled again. And Marcus? A dangerous chuckle escaped him. He just made this war personal. Chapter 31. The Red Button. Rain hammered against the hospital windows, while armed security guarded every hallway outside Marcus's private recovery suite. After Vincent Kane's return, the Hale family turned the hospital into a fortress. Nobody entered without approval. Nobody moved unchecked. At least, that's what they thought. Around 2:13 in the morning, Marcus suddenly woke from sleep. Something felt wrong. Too quiet. The room sat dark except for the soft glow of hospital machines. Aaliyah slept peacefully beside him, curled carefully against the chair near his bed. Marcus slowly looked around, then froze. A man stood near the windows, watching him. Marcus's heart instantly tightened. Vincent Kane. Older. Colder. More terrifying in person. The scar across his face caught the lightning flashing outside. Marcus slowly tried reaching toward the emergency button. Vincent calmly raised a silenced pistol. I wouldn't. Marcus stopped moving instantly. How the hell did you get in here? Vincent smirked slightly. You rich people put too much faith in security. Marcus's jaw tightened. What do you want? Vincent slowly walked closer. The man moved calmly, like death itself. I came to finally meet the boy your father died protecting. Marcus's breathing slowed. You killed him. Vincent tilted his head slightly. Your father was stubborn. Another step. So was your uncle. Marcus's eyes hardened instantly. You paralyzed William. Vincent smiled faintly. He should have minded his business. Marcus clenched his fists tightly. Why are you here? Vincent crouched beside the bed slowly, then leaned closer, and Marcus smelled gunpowder and whiskey on him. I'm here because war isn't over. Another pause. You took Lewis Treasury from me. Marcus frowned slightly. From you, Vincent smiled darkly. Ramon Lewis worked for me. Marcus instantly realized everything. Lewis Treasury was never the real enemy. Vincent Kane was. Then Vincent's eyes slowly drifted towards sleeping Aaliyah and toward her stomach. Marcus immediately tensed. Vincent noticed and smiled. There it is. Marcus's voice lowered dangerously. Don't. Vincent leaned closer, whispering softly, I'm coming for every person you love. Marcus's breathing became heavy. Vincent's eyes darkened completely. Your family. Another pause. Your wife. Then he looked toward Aaliyah's stomach again. And that newborn, too. Marcus instantly lunged forward despite his injuries, but pain exploded through his body. Vincent stepped backward calmly. Then suddenly, hospital alarms exploded loudly. Security voices shouted down the hallway. Vincent smirked. "Looks like our time up." Marcus growled angrily. "I'll kill you." Vincent slowly backed toward the window. "No." Lightning flashed across his face. "I'll break you first." Then suddenly, he disappeared into the darkness, gone like a ghost. Seconds later, armed security stormed into the room. Victoria Hale arrived immediately behind them, wearing a black silk robe and fury across her face. "What happened?" Marcus pointed weakly toward the windows. "Vincent." The entire room froze. Victoria's face instantly became deadly cold. "He was here," Marcus nodded angrily. "He threatened Aaliyah and the baby." Aaliyah instantly woke up terrified. "What?" Victoria turned toward security with pure rage in her eyes. "How did he get past security?" Nobody answered. Victoria snapped completely. "Fire them all." The entire hallway went silent. "I want every single guard removed by morning." Her voice echoed through the hospital. "And get me the best security in this country." Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Even Richard looked tense now, because Victoria Hale looked terrifying angry. Then suddenly, Victoria looked toward Alfred standing quietly near the doorway. "Alfred." Alfred instantly stepped forward. "Yes, ma'am." Victoria's eyes never left Marcus. "Press the red button." The entire room became silent. Roman's expression instantly changed. William slowly looked downward. Even Richard exhaled heavily. Marcus frowned weakly. "What red button?" Nobody answered immediately. Then Alfred slowly nodded once. "As you wish." And for the first time since joining the Hale family, Marcus realized there were still secrets inside this empire he knew absolutely nothing about. Chapter 32. The Red Button Society. The ride from the hospital back to the Hale mansion looked like something out of a war movie. A full convoy of black armored SUVs surrounded Marcus on every side. Military-grade vehicles, armed escorts, snipers positioned along rooftops. Even helicopters monitored the skies above Somerville. Nobody was taking chances anymore. Not after Vincent Kane walked directly into Marcus's hospital room. Inside the armored SUV, Marcus sat beside Aaliyah while Alfred calmly monitored multiple security feeds. Marcus looked outside quietly. "This feels insane." Alfred adjusted his gloves calmly. "With respect, sir." A pause. "It is." Aaliyah leaned softly against Marcus, still shaken from Vincent's threat. Marcus wrapped an arm around her protectively. "Nobody touching you all." But honestly, even Marcus no longer fully believed those words, because Vincent Kane somehow moved like a ghost. Back at the Hale mansion, everything changed. The estate looked less like a mansion and more like a military compound. Security guards lined every entrance. Attack dogs patrolled the property. Drones monitored the skies. And then, the red button security arrived. The atmosphere instantly shifted. These weren't normal guards, these were assassins. Former military killers, ex-Black Ops soldiers, mercenaries, silent men and women dressed entirely in black, cold eyes, no emotions. No fear. Even Roman quietly muttered, "These people scary." One tall assassin walked past carrying enough weapons to start a war. Another woman calmly sharpened knives while reviewing mansion blueprints. Marcus frowned slightly. "Who are these people?" Richard stayed quiet, but Victoria answered immediately, "The people powerful families call." A pause, when security guards stopped being enough. Marcus looked around carefully. Every assassin moved like a predator, watching, scanning, waiting. Victoria's expression remained ice-cold. "I don't want a single assassin getting proper sleep." The entire room became silent. "I want eyes open 24 hours a day until Vincent Kane is found." One assassin nodded quietly. "Yes, ma'am." Marcus realized immediately even these killers feared Victoria Hale. Meanwhile, miles away inside a hidden luxury estate somewhere near the ocean, Vincent Kane calmly sat in darkness, smoking a cigar while maps and Hale family files covered the walls. Pictures of Marcus, Richard, William, Victoria, Aaliyah, even unborn baby reports, everything carefully studied. One of Vincent's men stepped forward nervously. "Sir," another pause, "security around the Hales increased heavily." Vincent smirked slightly. "They should be afraid." Then his expression darkened. "Fear makes people sloppy." He slowly stood walking toward Marcus's photo pinned to the wall. "You got your father's eyes." Another pause, but not his patience. Vincent smiled coldly, and patience wins wars. Then he looked toward a picture of Aaliyah holding her stomach. His eyes darkened even more. Everybody breaks eventually. Back at the mansion, stress slowly started affecting Aaliyah badly. She barely slept, barely ate. Every loud noise scared her, and Marcus noticed immediately. One evening while she rested in bed, Marcus gently touched her face. "You okay?" Aaliyah tried smiling. "I'm fine." Marcus shook his head. "No, you not." The next morning, Victoria immediately arranged for a private doctor to arrive at the mansion. The doctor carefully examined Aaliyah for nearly an hour while Marcus anxiously waited outside the room. Finally, the doctor stepped out. Marcus instantly stood. "How's my wife?" The doctor smiled softly. "The baby is okay." Marcus exhaled deeply in relief. But his expression instantly changed again. "What?" The doctor looked serious now. "She's under too much stress." Another pause. "She needs complete bed rest." Marcus frowned immediately. "For how long?" "Until further notice." Marcus nodded instantly. Done. No hesitation. No argument. Nothing mattered more than protecting Aaliyah and their son. That night, Marcus personally stayed beside Aaliyah, helping her into bed carefully. Aaliyah sighed softly. "I hate feeling weak." Marcus kissed her forehead gently. "You carrying our son." Another kiss. "That's the strongest thing anybody could do." Aaliyah smiled faintly hearing that, then softly whispered, "I'm scared." Marcus held her closer immediately. "I know." Aaliyah looked up at him emotionally. "What if Vincent comes back?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "He won't touch you." But deep down, Marcus knew this war was far from over. Despite everything happening, business never stopped. 3 days later, Richard entered Marcus's room early that morning, dressed in an expensive navy suit. "You ready?" Marcus slowly stood from the chair near Aaliyah's bed. "For what?" Richard adjusted his cufflinks calmly. "The board meeting." Marcus blinked slightly. "With everything happening?" Richard nodded once. "The Empire still needs a leader." Marcus looked toward sleeping Aaliyah quietly, then back toward Richard. "You really think this the right time?" Victoria suddenly appeared behind Richard. "There will never be a right time." Her sharp eyes locked onto Marcus. "But kings don't pause because life gets difficult." Marcus stayed quiet, then finally nodded once. "Let's go." Because despite the danger, despite Vincent Kane, today Marcus Hale would officially stand before the board and claim his place as heir to the Hale Empire. Chapter 33. The Crown and the Explosion. The Hale Global boardroom stood completely silent as Marcus entered beside Richard and Victoria Hale. Massive windows overlooked the city skyline. Board members sat around the enormous table quietly studying Marcus. Some looked impressed, some nervous, some curious. But every single person in the room knew one thing. Marcus Hale had changed. The boy who once lost everything now walked into the room like a king. Richard slowly took his seat at the head of the table, while Marcus stood beside him calmly in a tailored black suit. Victoria sat nearby watching everybody carefully. Finally, Richard cleared his throat. "For decades," his voice echoed through the room, "the Hale Empire has remained one of the most powerful companies in the world." Everybody listened carefully. "And now," Richard looked proudly toward Marcus, "it's time for the next generation." Several board members nodded immediately. One older member stood slowly. "We've reviewed Marcus Hale's accomplishments." Another member spoke next. "The Miami rebuild alone proved his leadership." Another added, "He survived pressure most executives could never handle." Then finally, the oldest board member stood. "All in favor of Marcus Hale becoming the next CEO of Hale Global Empire?" Hands slowly lifted around the room, one after another, every single hand. Unanimous. Marcus officially became the new leader of the Hale Empire. The room erupted into applause. Richard slowly stood proudly before extending his hand toward Marcus. Marcus looked at it for a second, then shook it firmly. Richard smiled. "Congratulations, son." Victoria even smirked slightly. "Now the real pressure begins." Marcus laughed softly, I figured. For a moment, everything felt complete, like Marcus finally reached the mountaintop. But peace never lasted long. Back at the Hale mansion, Victoria already prepared a huge celebration dinner. The entire family gathered. William, Roman, Stacy, Lacey, Vanessa, Gabrielle, Denise, Alfred, everybody celebrated Marcus becoming the new face of Hale Global. Even Aaliyah smiled proudly despite being stuck on bedrest upstairs. Marcus kissed her forehead softly before grabbing his keys. "I'll be back." Aaliyah frowned slightly. "Where you going?" "Penthouse." Marcus smiled softly. I gotta grab our luggage if we're staying here. Aaliyah nodded reluctantly. Be careful. Marcus kissed her again. Always. About 30 minutes later, Marcus pulled up outside the luxury penthouse building. Security quickly surrounded him while he entered. The building felt normal, quiet, safe. Marcus grabbed luggage quickly. Some clothes, Aaliyah's bags, baby gifts. Then finally Marcus headed back downstairs, carrying the last bag. The second he stepped outside the building, boom! A deafening explosion ripped through the night. The entire penthouse building shook violently. Windows exploded everywhere. Fire burst through multiple floors instantly. People screamed across the streets. Cars' alarms exploded loudly. Marcus got thrown backward from the blast, while smoke filled the air. The entire front section of the penthouse erupted in flames. Bystanders ran everywhere panicking. Oh my God! The building exploded! Call 911! Marcus slowly looked upward in shock. If he walked out even 1 minute later, he would have died inside. Fire trucks roared toward the scene. Police flooded the streets. News reporters instantly arrived. But before cameras could even surround Marcus, the red button assassins moved fast. Several black SUVs pulled directly beside him. Security practically snatched Marcus off the street and forced him into the vehicle immediately. Move! Go, go, go! Within seconds, the convoy disappeared into the night back toward the Hale mansion. Inside the mansion, Victoria exploded with anger the second Marcus walked through the doors. This is getting out of hand! Richard immediately lowered his voice sharply. Keep your voice down. Victoria glared at him. He just blew up a building. Richard looked upstairs carefully. We do not need Aaliyah stressed any more than she already is. Victoria clenched her jaw angrily. Vincent Kane getting bolder. Marcus stayed quiet while smoke still covered parts of his clothes. Then suddenly his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Marcus slowly opened the text. Damn, missed you by a second. Marcus's eyes instantly darkened. Vincent Kane. Marcus slowly looked up toward Richard and Victoria. For years they handled wars their way. Carefully, strategically, patiently. But Marcus was done playing defense. He slowly placed the phone down on the table. Then calmly spoke, I'll let you all handle it your way until now. The room became silent. Marcus's voice lowered colder than ever before. Now? His jaw tightened. It's my turn. And for the first time since the war began, even Victoria Hale looked worried about what Marcus might do next. Chapter 34. No More Mercy. The Hale mansion sat completely silent late that night. But inside Marcus's office, war had officially begun. Marcus stood near the window, staring out into the darkness, while his phone still displayed Vincent Kane's message. Damn, missed you by a second. Marcus's jaw tightened. Enough was enough. Roman entered the office quietly, wearing all black tactical gear. You called? Marcus slowly turned toward him. You coming with me? Roman smirked slightly. Finally. Marcus's eyes darkened. We getting revenge for all of this? Roman cracked his knuckles once. I was hoping you'd say that. Marcus immediately grabbed his phone, calling Vanessa Brooks. She answered instantly. Marcus? Marcus's voice stayed cold. I need a phone trace. Vanessa instantly became serious. Done. Marcus continued. I need security footage. Traffic cams, private cameras, everything. Another pause. I want Vincent Kane found. Vanessa didn't hesitate. Me and Gabrielle on it now. For the next 3 days, nobody slept. Vanessa and Gabrielle practically turned Hale Industries into a surveillance center. Maps covered walls. Screens played endless footage. Phone records, tracking data, financial trails, everything. Gabrielle pointed toward another screen. Wait! Vanessa quickly walked over. What? Gabrielle zoomed into footage from a private marina. There. Vanessa's eyes widened slightly. Vincent Kane, entering an abandoned waterfront warehouse. Vanessa immediately grabbed her phone. We found him. 1 hour later, inside the Hale Mansion war room, Marcus stood over warehouse blueprints beside Roman and the red button assassins. Rain poured heavily outside while thunder echoed across the sky. Marcus pointed toward the map calmly. Vincent got armed men around the building. One assassin nodded. Approximately 20. Roman smirked. That all? Marcus looked toward the assassins. No loud mistakes. Another pause. We move fast. The room fell silent. Then Marcus loaded his weapon slowly. Tonight. His eyes darkened completely. This ends. Around midnight, black SUVs quietly surrounded the abandoned warehouse near the docks. Rain hammered against the metal buildings. Lightning flashed across the ocean. The red-button assassins moved silently through the darkness like ghosts. One guard disappeared instantly. Another got dragged silently into shadows. No alarms, no mistakes. Inside the warehouse, Vincent Kane calmly poured himself a glass of whiskey while old jazz music played softly nearby. Completely unaware death had already entered the building. Then suddenly, lightning flashed, and Marcus stepped out of the shadows. Vincent froze instantly. Marcus smirked coldly. "So?" Another lightning flash illuminated his face. "You got pictures of me everywhere." Vincent slowly set his glass down. Marcus stepped closer. "Didn't know you was a fan." Vincent reached toward his weapon, but Roman exploded from the darkness. Boom! One brutal punch dropped Vincent instantly unconscious. Roman cracked his neck. Talked too much. Hours later, Vincent slowly woke up, tied tightly to a chair inside an abandoned warehouse. Blood dripped from his face, hands restrained, body bruised. Marcus sat directly across from him silently. Roman stood nearby. The red-button assassins watched from the shadows. Vincent laughed weakly despite the pain. "So this how the new king move?" Marcus said nothing. Then suddenly, crack! Roman punched Vincent directly across the jaw. Teeth hit the floor. Vincent groaned painfully. Marcus calmly stood up. "You should have stayed away from my family." Vincent spit blood, laughing weakly. "Your father said the same thing." Marcus's eyes instantly darkened. For the next hour, Marcus got every answer he wanted. Vincent finally confessed everything. Lewis Treasury, the money laundering, the hit on Marcus's father, William's accident, everything. Vincent coughed blood while laughing painfully. "Your uncle wouldn't shut up." Another cough. "So we made an example out of him." Marcus clenched his fist tightly. Then Vincent smirked again. "And your father?" A dangerous smile crossed his face. "He died begging." Roman instantly moved forward furious. But Marcus stopped him. Silence filled the warehouse. Marcus slowly walked toward Vincent, then calmly spoke. "At first, another step. You came for me." Marcus shrugged slightly. "That was cool. Another step, then you came for my family." Marcus's jaw tightened. "That was your mistake." Then Marcus leaned directly into Vincent's face. "But when you threatened my wife..." Another pause. "And my child?" Marcus's eyes became completely cold. "That's where you crossed the line." Vincent stared at him silently now. No more smiling, no more arrogance. Then Marcus quietly whispered, "The difference between me and you." Another pause. "Is you talked about killing my family." Marcus slowly looked toward Roman. "But me?" A cold smile crossed Marcus's face. "I don't got to talk." Then calmly, "Roman." Marcus turned away, let him go. Vincent's eyes widened instantly. "No, wait." Roman grabbed the chair violently. The warehouse doors opened, revealing stormy skies and darkness outside. 500 feet below, sharp rocks and crashing ocean waves. Vincent panicked completely now. "Please!" Marcus never looked back. "You should have left my family alone." Then Roman shoved the chair forward. Vincent screamed all the way down. And when his body finally hit the rocks below, the impact was horrific. Silence followed afterward except for thunder and crashing waves. Marcus stared down emotionlessly, then finally looked toward Roman. "That's how you take out the trash." Roman smirked slightly. "Remind me never to piss you off." Later that night, every news station covered the mysterious death of Vincent Kane. Known criminal mastermind found dead. Authorities suspect gang connections. Underworld figure finally falls. Inside the Hale mansion, Richard quietly watched the news beside Victoria, then slowly lowered his drink. A slight smile crossed his face. "I think we finally found somebody." He glanced toward the stairs where Marcus had disappeared earlier. "Just as dangerous as you." Victoria watched the television quietly, then softly smirked. "No." Another pause. "He's worse." Chapter 35. A son is born. The death of Vincent Kane changed everything. For the first time in months, the Hale family could finally breathe again. No threats, no explosions, no assassins watching every corner. The war was over. And now, Marcus wanted only one thing: peace. A few weeks later, life inside the Hale mansion slowly returned to normal. Aaliyah remained on bed rest while Marcus practically refused to leave her side. Every morning he helped her downstairs carefully. Every night he rubbed her feet while talking to their unborn son. And every single person in the mansion spoiled Aaliyah non-stop, especially Victoria. Nobody expected the ruthless queen of the Hale Empire to suddenly become soft. But around Alia, and especially around the baby, Victoria completely changed. One afternoon, Marcus walked into the living room and froze. Victoria sat beside Alia knitting baby clothes. Marcus blinked slowly. "What the hell?" Victoria calmly looked up. "What?" Marcus pointed dramatically. "You knit!" Lacey burst out laughing nearby. We all shocked. Victoria rolled her eyes. "Leave me alone." Alia smiled softly. "She making him baby blankets." Marcus slowly sat down, still confused. The woman who ordered assassins. Another pause. Knitting teddy bears. Victoria pointed a finger toward him instantly. "Watch your mouth." The whole room burst into laughter. Meanwhile, Marcus fully settled into his role as CEO of Hale Global Empire. And honestly, he dominated. Stocks rose, businesses expanded. The Miami companies continued growing. Gabrielle and Vanessa became one of the most feared business duos in corporate America. Even Richard proudly admitted Marcus surpassed expectations. One morning inside the boardroom, Richard quietly smiled while watching Marcus run a meeting flawlessly. Victoria noticed immediately. "You proud of him?" Richard smirked softly. "He built himself." Then calmly, "That's why he's dangerous." But despite all the business success, Marcus's entire world revolved around Alia now, especially as her pregnancy neared the final weeks. One evening, Marcus laid beside her, gently rubbing her stomach. "You think he gonna look like me?" Alia laughed softly. "I hope not." Marcus looked offended. "Wow." Alia smiled teasingly. "I want him to get my looks." Marcus smirked. "He definitely getting my basketball skills." Alia rolled her eyes. "That baby probably already dribbling in there." Marcus laughed before kissing her stomach gently. "Lil man," he smiled softly, "your daddy waiting on you." Then finally, at 3:17 in the morning, everything changed. Marcus woke suddenly, hearing Alia gasp loudly beside him. "Alia," she grabbed his arm tightly. "Marcus," another painful breath. "My water broke." Marcus froze, then instantly panicked. "Oh shit!" Alia burst out laughing despite contractions. "Marcus, calm down." Marcus jumped out of bed, moving around the room wildly. "Alfred, get the car! Call the doctor!" The entire mansion woke up instantly. Lights came on everywhere. Security rushed around confused. Richard came downstairs, half asleep in silk pajamas. "What's happening?" Victoria immediately stood up calmly. "She's in labor." Richard blinked once, then immediately, "Oh Lord." Within minutes, a full Hale convoy rushed toward the hospital. Marcus held Alia's hand tightly the entire drive while she squeezed the life out his fingers during contractions. "You breaking my hand?" Alia glared at him. "I'm pushing out a human." Marcus immediately nodded. "You know what?" Another contraction hit. "You right." Hours later, inside the hospital, Marcus looked more stressed than everybody else, pacing, sweating, talking too much. Roman laughed, watching him panic. "You look like you giving birth." Marcus ignored him completely. Then suddenly, a doctor stepped out smiling. "You can come in now." Marcus practically sprinted into the room, and the second he entered, he froze. Alia looked exhausted, beautiful, emotional, and in her arms was his son. Tiny, wrapped in blankets, alive. Marcus slowly walked closer, speechless. Tears instantly filled his eyes. "Oh my God." Alia smiled weakly. "Meet your son." Marcus carefully took the baby into his arms for the first time. The tiny baby immediately grabbed Marcus's finger, and Marcus completely broke down crying. Richard quietly wiped his eyes outside the room. Even Roman looked emotional. Marcus stared down at his son in disbelief. "This my boy." Alia nodded softly, crying too. "Our boy." Marcus kissed the baby's forehead gently. "I got you forever." Then softly whispered, "And nobody ever hurting you." The room filled with love, relief, peace. Everything Marcus fought for now rested inside his arms. Then Richard slowly stepped into the room, smiling proudly. "What's his name?" Marcus looked toward Alia softly. Alia smiled through tears. "Tell him." Marcus looked back down at his son, then proudly said, "His name is Marcus Hale, Jr." The entire family erupted emotionally, and for the first time since becoming rich, since the businesses, the violence, the wars, Marcus finally realized this right here was the greatest thing he ever built.